Welcome to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain Bergman, CEO of Bridgeport Strategy. And if you've been following us for any length of time, you know that I have the wonderful opportunity to bring on a guest co host who brings us some amazing panelists. And today is no different. We have a wonderful show lined up for you today. And I'm going to start by giving a brief introduction to our host, or co host, I should say, Miss Deanna Radulescu. Did I get it right, Deanna?
Right, perfect.
Woohoo! Got the
Perfect.
accent.
Yeah.
Deanna is the founder and host of the Label Free podcast, and she is a confidence coach. Welcome to the show, Deanna. Thank you for being our guest co host today.
Thank you for having me, Regina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Deanna, would you please share with our viewers a bit about your journey? What's brought you to the place that you're at now, and who you serve, and why that's important to you?
Sure. So, none of our paths are linear, right? So it takes us through twists and turns. Mine certainly has got a lot of those twists and turns. My professional background, I'm a former C-level executive. I had 5 businesses with my late husband. He passed away about 9 years ago. I was forced to start my life over. I dabbled in fashion design when the pandemic hit, like everything that I had going with that shut down. And then I started the podcast in 2019. And the podcast really kind of is indicative of a lot of things that I have gone through and I've had to overcome, and just kind of releasing some of those labels that I carried with me that were so heavy, were giving me self-limiting beliefs. And so as I've moved forward and grown the podcast, I've kind of stuck true to my message. And I serve people that might be struggling in their life, people that might be like stuck in a place where they're scared to step out of. And I bring on incredible guests like all these people that are joining us today to talk about their paths, because we all have such a unique story. And I think it is incredible to share those stories that can uplift, inspire, and create action with people that are listening.
Fantastic. And what a great need there is for the work that you're doing. I was widowed in 2014, so I know that journey as well.
Yeah.
And yes, there are so many things that we deal with. And again, yes, it's very true that those self-limiting beliefs can impact us and cause us to stay stuck. So
Absolutely.
thank you for the work that you're doing. Very needed. Thank you. Deanna, would you please introduce each of our guests and have them share a bit about their journey, who they serve and why, so we can learn a bit more about them?
I'm going to bounce around a little bit. So I'm going to start with Susie. Susie has been a guest on my show a couple times. She is the founder of Innovative and Creativity Institute, and she's the author of Buoyant, and she talks a lot about creativity and entrepreneurship. So Susie, can you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial household in the mountains of Western North Carolina. I have a background in anthropology and a master's in entrepreneurship. And I have a work background in publishing, nonprofit leadership, real estate, as well as being a coach and a consultant. I'm also, as you pointed out, an author and an artist. And what drives me is the result of what I call my time in the fire, my nuclear winter period, which began in 2008 when the markets crashed. And I had to devise an entirely new way of living and working in order to extricate myself from the various messes that I was in when literally everything in my life imploded. So what I discovered was the transition for me that was key was being able to tap into my inspiration and my innate creativity in order to leave the world of burnout, overwhelm, and struggle, believing that I would have to work myself to a nub and have more discipline and more productivity in order to have freedom and success. And no one was more surprised than I that the path was actually much easier. And it was one filled with play and flow and ease. And one that was born from this incredible experience of immersing myself in creativity and the transformational impact and the alchemical impact that it had on literally everything in my life as well as my clients' lives.
Wow.
Yeah, very impressive. Amazing. I love it. All right, I'm going to move on to Greg. Greg is someone I know here locally in the Chicagoland area. He wears many hats, but he is like the rock star of one of the largest networking groups here in Chicagoland, Tony P's Networking. So, Greg, I know you do a lot of different things, but I'm going to let you tell the rest of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Deanna, and appreciate you having me here. Yeah, so my name is Greg DeKalb. Born and raised in small town of Illinois. Worked my way through college with a marketing degree. Ended up in Chicagoland, and yeah, just had always been involved with business development and sales and marketing, and that ultimately led me to a software career where I was managing, training, and building sales teams. And then at one point, just kind of realized, wow, there's really something to getting meetings set up and etc. And I grew a knack for it, understood the softwares behind it, and decided to venture out as an entrepreneur about 8 years ago. Built a company called Appointments IQ, where we do outsourced business development and we do sales coaching and training. And to get business, we built a networking group called Tony P's Network and Events. So we started that about 7 years ago, and it started with just one event, just getting as many people as we can to come together and shake hands. And the next thing we knew, we were doing monthly events. And beyond that, we realized, wow, we have a lot of real estate folks, so let's start doing real estate events. We have a lot of IT folks, so let's start doing technology events. And pandemic hit about that time, and we decided, well, let's create the virtual networking event and go worldwide. So it's been very, very exciting. Coming out of the pandemic, we realized, well, we got cannabis, real estate, technology, business. What's missing in this equation? So we started doing fashion shows, and we launched our fashion and creative networking events, and then realized, wow, okay, now we got a little something for everybody. So we created a membership, which we're up to about 265 members to date, and we do events on a weekly basis. And yeah, we're rocking and rolling. I think until somebody tells me differently, we're the largest independent network in the Chicagoland area. And yeah, our motto is everybody and their ideas are welcome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I've met a lot of incredible people at your events, and you and Tony are the best. I'm going to move over to Amanda. Amanda is also an incredible human being. She is a celebrity makeup artist out of New York. We connected on the Label Free show, and her stories, her fun celebrity stories of working with Brooke Shields, Al Pacino, are definitely unique, as well as her being an Amazon host. But I'm going to let you finish that off and tell the audience more about your background.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm happy to be here. And Deanna, thanks for plucking me out and having me be on. So yeah, shout out to the Chicago people. My family originates from Illinois, Charleston. My sister's in Chicago. I grew up in Kansas. So Midwest all the way. Dorothy was sort of Oz the whole thing. I've heard all the jokes. We can just, where's Toto, blah, blah, blah. So I grew up in Kansas because my parents were all psychiatrists at a well-known psychiatric foundation called Menninger. So we grew up there in Kansas, and I'm very normal and very adjusted, just so we all know. Then they also had another side of them, which they were in the entertainment business. So they were all actors. My grandparents taught at Eastern Illinois. They taught acting to John Malkovich, to Joan Allen. Wow. When they retired, they decided to be actors themselves. So they went to Broadway. They were in movies, won Tonys. My parents, when they weren't doing psychiatry in the day, would perform at night at the local theater. So I'd sit in the audience and just be like, oh, wow, this is normal, right? And didn't think it wasn't. So I had the bug very early. We went to New York, traveled the world every year. And I thought, well, of course I'm going to go to New York. I wanted to be in the magazines. I wanted to jump into the TV and the movie. And I wanted to figure out what the magic was. So I was like, sure, I'm a singer, I'm an actor. Great. Got a BFA, went to New York, pounded the pavement, hustled, did all of it. Great, because rejection, as we know, really makes you a stronger person. And after a while, I thought, I'm going to create my own happiness, and I'm not going to wait to create is something that I just keep saying to myself that, you build up a tough skin when people say every day, no, yes, too fat, too thin, too old, too young. Great. Well, on the side, I did makeup because growing up, I always loved makeup and I loved performing. So I thought, well, let me combine my two loves. People wait tables, they're doing temp jobs, nannying. I did makeup on the side. And I realized I was much happier when I'd get the call to do commercial makeup other than be in the commercial. So I had a divorce. I wanted to change everything. And I can't believe looking back, I wasn't more scared, but I thought, I've already been through the ringer with this acting thing. Let me take those same skills, networking, connecting, collaborating, and just being a nice, normal, honest person. Shocking, really gets you far.
Yeah.
So I took those same skills. I printed up business cards, got an inexpensive makeup kit that was fancier than my other cheap one I had 20 years ago. I went door to door, and my trajectory went like this because rejection rolled off my back. So I said, would you like to hire me? I dressed the part. I looked nice. And I realized it's, I always have to have a disclaimer that, yes, I do celebrities. Yes, I do TV. I also do the normal human being, the normal woman who's tired. She has a baby. She wants to learn a makeup lesson. Her skin's changing. I do everything. I do makeup for corporate. So my plight is not to say, oh, you're only beautiful if you wear 3 layers of makeup and mask yourself. That's not what I'm about. I'm giving confidence. And it sounds super cheesy, but what makes me happy is that I realize the people and the connection is what makes me the most high and excited. So I'm like this. I was telling Deanna, when you're a makeup artist, you're almost a dentist, right? So you can feel that energy. We are close. Yeah. And we connect. And so we go deep. Obviously, I'm raised by therapists. So. But I do have boundaries, which is great. But the connecting is what sets me apart. There's a million great makeup artists, great hairstylists, wonderful. Well, they say, I'm actually looking for a lawyer. Do you have any good speech pathologists? Well, I meet 30 women and men a week, right? So I'm like, let me connect you. That's what sets us apart. So all encompassing, when the word collaboration was all over this email, I think that's one of my most favorite words. And we are stronger and so much better. And we'll go further if we just connect with each other, let the egos go by the wayside, learn from people younger than us, older than us. We can never stop learning. So I'm happy to be a part of this. I feel like it's a common thread, and can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Awesome. I love it. Love your energy, Amanda. Last but not least, and perhaps the best, no, I'm kidding, Coach Dan Gordon. Coach Dan is he's got an amazing backstory. He went from struggle to thriving and is an incredible coach, which I'm currently working with to help my confidence coaching business get off the ground. And I just love working with him and collaborating with him. So he was a natural fit for this. But I'm going to let you tell more about your background and what you do.
Yeah, I can't think of anything more boring than me talking about myself. So I'd rather talk about you who are listening right now. I'm going to tell you what you're struggling with. Right? Give me 60 seconds and we're going to work this out. What you're struggling with is the idea that there is something that's in front of you that is preventing you from what you want. And I get it. There is really hard evidence, right? You don't have the money. There's somebody who is toxic. There are things, circumstances. There's everything going on around you that's preventing you. And it's real. Like, I'm not saying that it's not real. What I am saying is that you can always find circumstances that stop you from achieving the things that you want. And when you think about the people like Dr. King, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Richard Branson, Mother Teresa, these are people who didn't let circumstances stop them from achieving what they wanted. So my invitation to you watching right now is to ask yourself, if I chose not to allow circumstances to prevent me from moving forward, what would I do differently? This is what I do in working with clients. This is how I help people sell better, reach the vision that they want to achieve, and really become more impactful in the world. Because there's no difference between you and Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Oprah and all of these people. They all breathe the same air that you do. It's simply how you interact with yourself in the other world that determines what you're going to do next.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here. What a pleasure to get to know each of you a bit more, and I'm looking forward to this discussion. Thank you, Deanna, for agreeing to be our co-host today and bringing these wonderful people. So as I was listening to your introductions, and you're all really good at networking and collaborating. So the thought that occurs to me is maybe our discussion could center around how do we take those levels of connection to deeper levels through collaboration? Because we're all good at collaborating and networking, but we want to help others who are listening today who may not have those same skill sets. We want to help them learn how to collaborate and make the world richer through that collaboration, right? Enrich their own lives as well as others in the world. You know, one of my favorite things is being part of the ripple effect that we create when we impact one other person and they go out and impact others and we become part of that ripple. So my question for you then is, how do we take these levels of connection and collaboration to deeper levels to enrich more lives? And please, everyone, feel free to contribute to this conversation. Dan, I can see you're chomping at the bit here. So let's start with Dan.
So the great and well-known philosopher Vanilla Ice said, "All right, stop, collaborate, and listen."
Yeah.
And listening is the key in what you're saying. And it's not, look, there's a lot of listening tools out there that you can learn. Mirror back what people said, nod, smile, right? But it's all an edifice, a construct. It's not really making a connection, right? It's not real collaboration. Collaboration is listening beneath people's words, right? What are they really struggling with, right? When someone says, I'm just not meeting the right people. Well, there's probably a belief system at play that's drawing the wrong people into their lives. So what you want to do is you want to ask some really key questions like, why do you think that is? We tend to jump right in with the solution. Well, have you tried this?
Yeah.
But when you start engaging people with the questions, right, that force them to ask themselves deeper questions, which, why do you think that is? Well, what usually happens when you meet the wrong person? Why do you suppose you are hanging out there as opposed to there? Why aren't you getting invitations to those upper level events that you want to go to?
Excellent. Excellent.
I guess for me to have deeper levels of collaboration and connecting is allowing myself to be vulnerable. So if I'm vulnerable and showing up as real as I can be, it allows someone else to kind of feel safe in that space to connect with me even deeper so we can find more opportunities to collaborate together. And that's probably what has made me so successful with my show, is that I do show up vulnerable. I show up completely open, raw, honest, and I don't have anything to hide. And I think that makes people feel safe. And that's why everybody walks away with such a great experience and wanting to work with me again down the line, because what you see is what you get. And I'm going to want to support you and figure out ways that we can grow together. And just being in that vulnerable space is I think, very powerful.
I would agree.
I love that about you, Deanna. It's 100% true. You're great at that.
Thank you.
And Deanna, you have a good way of being vulnerable but confident.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting that you make people feel like they can talk to you, but they also, if they need advice, you'll give it. But we'll show our scars. We'll share stories. And back to when I was saying that I'm so close to people. Adapting to people's energies is such an important thing. Are they nervous? Are they insecure? You can tell that maybe someone treats them badly, so they're treating you badly. Figure it out after a few questions. And we can all tell if we're talking to someone, they're waiting for us to stop talking and they're going to nod, but I'm actually waiting for you to stop talking so I can talk about me. If you just do, and my husband always says the Ford: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So why not ask people about themselves? Yeah. They'll actually want to open up to you. And then when they hear your name again, they'll go, oh, I really liked that person. Yeah. Maybe they won't remember everything you talked about, But if you have that form of trust and knowledge to share with them, not tell them what they should be doing, it makes a big difference, I think.
They'll remember how they felt, right, Amanda?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll jump in and I'll take just kind of like I look at it as a funnel. Okay, so I'm very obviously pro networking, but networking, in my view, leads to collaboration, which leads to partnerships. Okay, so I'll take a step back, and when you go to networking events, I get this feedback from people all the time. Yeah, I met a ton of people, but I don't know how to get to that collaboration level. And it's like, okay, well, you got to lead with the giving hand, and everything everybody said as far as like being an active listener, understanding what this person's all about, and that because you got maybe a 5-minute window to leave that impression with that person. But the next day after that networking event, I make it a practice, and this is what I always recommend to people is, be the first one to initiate. I make it kind of a game. Okay, who's going to reach out to who, and at least make yourself available. And that it opens up a world of opportunities. So I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. So I'll go through the cards, send out a LinkedIn connection. Great to meet you at the event. And the people that get back to me, that's a sign that, okay, these people are open to collaborating. And that's when you take it out of the networking event and you set up that one-on-one call for 30 minutes or that coffee meeting. And that's when you sit down, you understand, what they're all about, what they're trying to accomplish, while you're listening, instead of thinking about what you're going to share with them, about yourself, be thinking about, okay, how can I help this person? Who do I know? What experiences do I have, in their field that could add benefit to what they have going on? And if you can lead with a giving hand, and if you can add value to somebody in their day to day, that's what's going to leave a very lasting impression on them. And they're going to recommend you and speak highly of you and have a good connotation of you in their mind, and that just kind of, I'm a believer in karma, and I think that'll resonate, and they'll share that goodwill with other people. And as you dig deeper into that collaborative phase, and you're understanding how you can help them, how they can potentially help you, etc., that's when you start to develop that business partnership where we ultimately all want to be. So that's my take on it, and everything I say will always go back to networking for some reason or another.
I can attest for that. You do lead with the giving hand, and have offered a lot of people a lot of opportunities. So
Awesome.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about something I started exploring about a year ago, and that is doing joint webinars with other entrepreneurs and creators and leaders. And at first, when I started thinking about who I wanted to invite to the party, I started thinking about people who have parallel interests and similar audiences, but perhaps not the same audience. Because I really wanted to bring something to the relationship that was above and beyond status quo, and how I could look to actually elevate their own mission and their own promise to their ideal clients to a new level, and cross-pollinate our ideas and our passions and the reasons why we do the work we do, and reach different audiences and expand each other's platforms. So I started interviewing people and talking with them. And one of the things that came out of this sort of initial process was this favorite question of mine that tended to blow people's minds, but it just gets everything right down to the nitty-gritty pretty quickly. And so I started asking people, what are you desperate for people to know? And from that place, they stopped telling me CV material or the contents of what is on their website. They start speaking from their entrails and from their soul and from what really drives them and what their why is. And as I listened to those stories, every single time now going forward, I can figure out exactly where there's an interesting potential nexus in our work. Because I know certainly what I'm desperate for people to know. And when I hear what the dreams are and the really driving forces that others have, then I could suggest, hey, why don't we explore doing a topic like this? And what happens as a result is not only that we have a wonderful collaborative exchange of ideas and expanding our audiences and serving our audiences in a much better way, we're learning about our own material in a different light. And we're able to then take that and articulate what it is that we most want to say in an entirely new and empowered state. And the whole process is just electric, and I'm completely in love with it. So,
yeah, I love that question.
Yeah, I love that as well. I do a very similar process, Susie, in terms of creating joint events with folks, you know, where we share that same audience but serve them differently, and we come together for a 2-hour workshop where we each teach and share what we do and cross-pollinate, as you say, or as accountants wouldn't like to hear, commingle our audiences. Any other thoughts on this?
I just think that I do believe our value goes up if we connect people, even if it doesn't benefit us in any way. If you talk to people, oh, I met with that person. Oh, I had coffee with her. She's great. Oh, you guys did some. That's a great thing. Even if we don't get anything out of it. We actually, if you're genuine, you do get something out of it. I think
exactly.
we're much more valuable to help them. Yeah. And then they would help us, and then they'll help someone else. It's just super basic. And I love what you said, Susie. Everyone says, oh yeah, what do you do for a living? I do this, I do this, I do this. Then you ask them a different question and the cadence changes. And you're right. It's like you open up this secret or this vault. I love that. Beautiful.
You know, a real easy question to ask people is, instead of what do you love about what you do? Because that opens up an entirely different trail of a conversation. Because now in networking events, we're all kind of, pre-programmed to deliver, just as Amanda said perfectly, to kind of deliver this speech of who we are. But when we talk about what drives us to do what we do, now we're having an authentic conversation, and those are the places where real connections are made.
I love that. That's a great way to address that. What do you love about what you do? Yeah, perfect. Excellent. What has been one of the most rewarding types of collaboration that you've had? What's been a really rewarding collaboration that you've had? Dan?
Something just popped into my head.
I saw that.
Yeah, right. I connected someone up with someone who literally changed their life, right? And I think Susie talked about this, like making that connection for someone else, and that psychic energy, that joy, that thing that's in us that's designed to want to help other people. Yeah. And so when I think about my best collaboration, it really has been the way that I've served others. And the weird thing is about that, this happened 8 years ago, this thing that I'm thinking, and like right before this meeting, I had a connection with someone who that person connected me up to. Where I was having this conversation, you came into mind and just had this mind-blowing conversation. Like it was right up to this meeting. Like I have to go. I don't want to go, right? And this thing that we're talking about that it's like an AI version of me that. Like where you can have the Coach Dan Gordon experience without Coach Dan, right? And this thing that I've been conceptualizing, but this person's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And I'm like, whoa. And this never would have happened if 8 years ago I hadn't made this connection. Like if I hadn't asked those questions that drew into a deeper conversation. And so, if you're living life transactionally, it's a really boring and empty life, right? If you go to a networking event and you come home and go, well, I didn't get anything out of that. Like look in the mirror. Yeah. Because you create that, right? It's what you give that gives back consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg?
Yeah, I'll piggyback real quick on that because it's a simple switch in mind frame, and your networking experience will be 100 times different. If you go there and you have that expectation, I'm going to meet this dream client, I'm going to walk out of there with a new deal or something like that. You're going to be beating your head against the wall, etc. But if you go there with the frame of mind, I'm going to see how many people I can help tonight.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I mean, your mood, your attitude, everything, you're just the way you radiate within the audience is just going to be completely different. And people just have like this human instinct. They know those people that are there to help, and they know the people that are there to take, and people gravitate towards the helpers, right? Going on, I've been fortunate to be in a situation where I'm constantly connecting people and have started up a lot of different collaborations amongst people. But I actually just had a call this morning, so it's top of mind. But it's a good friend of mine who's making the leap of faith out of corporate America into launching his own coaching business. And I've seen a lot of coaches. I've worked with a lot of coaches, and this person, he has it, And so I've been kind of coaching him on taking that leap of faith into entrepreneurship, etc. And to help him out, I've been having him come out to all of our networking events, and I've been introducing him to a lot of people and everything else, which was kind of new and a little scary for him and everything else. And yeah, today he calls me out of the blue. He's like, "Greg, you're not going to believe it." He's like, "I just landed one of my first clients, and it was an introduction that you made for me about a month ago, and they're coming on board, and I'm so excited." And I was like, that's fantastic. I said, now you know what you need to do is you got to serve them the best you can, because that person is going to be your number one champion for getting more clients.
For sure.
So that was just just one experience that I had today. So
yeah, that's that beautiful ripple effect, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Deanna?
For me, I mean, I have collaborated with so many people over the last 5 years with my podcast, and I'm always showing up looking how I can introduce them to someone else to continue their climb, to continue them to grow their brand. And I immediately, I'm always thinking like, well, let me introduce you to this person. And when I see that introduction takes off, it just makes me feel so great. And just that, like you said, the ripple effect. And like every day I'm collaborating. So it's like, I have a great collaboration day every day, and I just love it. And I'm always trying to connect people together. And that's just part of the beauty of what I do, and being able to meet so many incredible people all over the world. So every day is a great collaboration day for me.
Amen. I totally agree. Susie?
Well, I definitely agree with Deanna. I love to collaborate and work with folks, and it's almost like we can sniff each other out. We know a fellow collaborator, connector, fellow person who's passionate about lifting other people, and we just kind of magnetically click. Yeah. And there's an inexhaustible supply of energy and inspiration when that relationship is so tight, and even if it's brand new. It has the power, in my opinion, to change worlds. And I will tell you a very brief story about a new collaboration that began at the end of June. I had a client come to Highlands, where I live, for a VIP coaching experience. And we were just in this bubble, this vortex of energy and excitement, because we had totally mapped out what she wanted to achieve. And she was going to get back on that plane with so much under her belt. And she was in the middle of a conversation in the car, and she happened to mention this woman and what she was up to. And the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I was like, please introduce me. I said, I have to meet her. So she did connect us, and we started communicating via email, and we set up a time to have a conversation and just get to know each other. And then she wrote me back about an hour later, and she's like, wait a second, you're the author of Buoyant? Now, this just does not happen, y'all. This does not happen. And I was like, yes. And she said, oh, well, that book changed my entire life, and it's the reason why I'm doing this work that I'm doing now. the very work that had the hair on the back of my neck standing up. And so we have been working together, and I have been just donating coaching for her as she is figuring out and setting her strategy for this huge collaborative effort to elevate arts funding.
Mm.
And I am so excited by what she's doing. Every time I just talked to her for 2 hours before we did this. I have no idea exactly where this is going, which thrills me to no end. But I can tell it's 1 + 1 = 100 with the two of us and our backgrounds and what we're interested in. And all I want to do is give. All I want to do is just, hey, how far can I help you go with this next part of the project? So I think that there is this innate sort of container of atomic energy when we have aligned values and interests. We don't have to have the same backgrounds. We don't have to have the same skill sets. But if we have this sort of je ne sais quoi of this connection of how we want to impact the world, then it's just we're off and run into the races, and it's unbelievably exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It is indeed. It
Yeah.
is. I have many times gotten off of phone calls and gone to find my husband wherever he was in the house and say, "Have I ever told you how much I love what I do?" No, babe. Amanda, your thoughts?
God, I love these stories. That's a reason why we all are together today.
Exactly.
I have a small scale and a big scale. That I was just thinking of a scenario that last week after an event, I was having drinks with two women in town, and we were talking, and I actually had forgotten. They said, one was a sommelier. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And the other one is a lawyer. And I helped one of them gather women together to boost her business. That was like 3 years ago. She goes, "Well, it's because of you I am where I am." I'm like, "Oh, I had no idea." And then the lawyer said, "Well, Amanda, she loves theater." So she said, "You introduced me to these artistic directors, and she goes, well, now I'm producing Broadway shows." I'm like, "What?" I just felt like that's when you feel like we all won.
Yeah.
Like I kind of forgot about that. And so that just put so much adrenaline in me. That was a great feeling. And then on a larger scale, and I was like, "Do I get free wine for the rest of my life then? And free Broadway?" No, but on a larger scale, again, like working up the chain, I finally was in doing a TV show where I was department head of hair and makeup, and I could hire my own beauty gang, my own hairstylist and makeup artists. And I was so excited to give the people a chance who I know were insecure, didn't think they could do it. And they were in their 50s. Some of them were young. But, "Oh, I don't want to." I said, "You're going to do it. Fake it till you make it." And to watch them, I mean, it was chaotic. We're all running around, but it's like, "I don't know how to." I said, "Yes, you do. Just do it." And I'm like a coach, like, "Get in there. You can do this, kid." And, I know that hopefully it was a great experience for their lives, and they doubted themselves. I'm like, I was thrown in too. When I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just faking it." To see them do it and thrive was just such a wonderful thing. And years later, we all stay in contact. And I think that is what makes me I can't sleep at night, because that's so exciting to think maybe they'll do that when they get to that position years from now. And I think in my industry, many industries are like this, but entertainment and beauty can be very ugly, very competitive. And again, Midwest, I refuse to go to that level. I'm confident I could strive, but I'm not going to hit below the belt to get somewhere. Speaking of sleeping at night, I would not be able to sleep at night if I undermine someone to get a job. And hopefully I can kind of put my Dorothy spin on the next generation.
Hey, Amanda, I just love that you said that beauty is ugly. I'm really going to ruminate on that for a bit, because there's a lot of tendrils to that statement.
How much time do you have? Yeah.
Very little.
But I'm reminded of what Deanna said a few minutes ago, that every day is a great collaborative day.
Mhm.
And it certainly can be for each of us and everyone that we encounter, right? And as we share this message of collaboration and the joy that it brings, the energy that it brings, how it changes the world in positive ways, how we help others succeed. I mean, there's so many positive aspects to collaboration. That said, let's just for a moment, because we don't have a lot of time left here, but just for a moment, let's give a little bit of the cautionary tales, because not every collaboration works out the way we intended it to, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
And so what are some of the things that we can do to prevent it from being a negative experience? What are some of the things that we can do in the beginning to make sure that we are partnering, collaborating with someone that this is going to be a good outcome? Any thoughts on that? Susie, you're nodding your head. Got some thoughts on that?
I think it's really helpful to get clear right away with one another as to what it is that you both want to have happen. And specifically how you're going to work together to make sure that that happens for both parties. And it doesn't need to be, a 20-point plan in triplicate, but it's important, I think, for people to have this equal footing in the relationship and this comfort in being able to speak up about, well, I'd like for it to look like this, or perhaps we could include that, or what are your thoughts if we do blah, blah, blah. So open communication, establishing what the end desired feeling state and goals are for the project, specifically how you're going to contribute to some of the heavy lifting or the marketing efforts, how many channels you're going to put the publicity on, for example, what you agree to do, what you will agree to commit to doing. Then it tends to just take a lot of the unknowns out, a lot of the voids where miscommunication can happen. And having a real estate background, I am just always thinking about where somebody doesn't have a firm grasp on the agreement and what I can do to help us get very clear. Because once that's clear, there's a beautiful place to start the relationship on the right foot, and it stays on the right foot all the way through to the end.
All the way through to the end. Absolutely. Dan?
All right. I got a long history of I'll say it this way. A long time ago, someone close to me said, Dan, people who don't want to look at themselves definitely don't want to talk to you. Right. So I'm coming a long history of telling people things that they don't want to hear that actually free them of their limitations. So here we go. I have never had a bad collaboration. What I've had is I've created situations that cause me a lot of pain and struggle for the purpose of learning and growth and ultimate freedom. Right. So quick story. About 8 years ago, I lost everything. I had a marketing company. I inadvertently hired a guy who turned out to be, a pathological liar. Right. So when all that came to light in a month, I lost over $100,000, my business. I was on the floor in snot and tears. What am I going to do? What I ultimately came to recognize is that, again, I am the central loci of all those relationships. Right. I'm the common denominator. So why did I choose to hire a pathological liar to destroy my business? Fact is, I hate marketing. I'm just really good at it. It was never supposed to be a career. It was supposed to be this. So we bring into our lives the people that we need to move us forward. It doesn't always feel good. Going to the gym doesn't feel great, right?
Right.
But we do it for a purpose.
Yeah.
So if there is someone in your life who is causing you an experience that doesn't feel good, ask yourself, not why is this being done to me? Why is it being done for me? What am I supposed to be learning from this? And the answer isn't not to avoid toxic people, because there aren't toxic people. There's only people that you are allergic to. If they're toxic, then they're toxic to everybody. That's what toxic means. They're not toxic, they're just allergic to them. They're fine for other people, not you, just other people.
Got it.
And what is it that you're not honoring in yourself that's drawing the wrong people in?
Excellent. Good self-reflective questions. Folks, we are out of time. What a great conversation, though. I've enjoyed this. So we're going to move into our wrap-up round now. And Deanna is going to run that for us. And Deanna, would you start by, or would you ask each person to share their final thoughts on collaboration and their contact information? Okay.
Absolutely. So I'll begin how I started. Susie, what are your final thoughts on collaboration and your contact info? Drop it for us.
Okay, so I would say open up to collaborations, partnerships, temporary gatherings, joint projects, whatever it is, and step outside of what your typical usual suspects would be. This is just a wonderful opportunity to find new inspiration, new ways of seeing your own work, as well as elevating the conversation and the discourse to an entirely new and most likely surprising level. So try lots of different things, work on a lot of different kinds of projects with people from very, very diverse backgrounds.
Love it. And your contact info.
The easiest way to reach me is go to my website, which is innovationandcreativityinstitute.com. There you can connect with me on social media on all the channels, as well as download a free toolkit for entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Thank you. Greg, final thoughts on collaboration.
Yeah. Final thoughts would be it is a numbers game, right? Collaboration is risk. So the way you hedge that risk is by networking and finding a lot of potential people to collaborate with. And then it helps you hone in on, quick skill sets on identifying people. Look at their social, look what they're all about, try to understand them. Are they punctual? Do they respect your time? And take those cues. And as much as you may want to collaborate with somebody, they may not be the right fit. And kind of along what everybody else was saying, do not judge a book by a cover, because the person that you might collaborate the best with may be the person furthest from your imagination on who that might be. So, and the best way to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn, Greg DeKalb, and then on Instagram, G DeKalb.
Excellent. Thank you. Amanda, final thoughts.
I would like to piggyback to what Dan was saying earlier. I could not agree more with you about collaborating and looking into us. Why are we attracting these people? Be careful, tread lightly, and at the same time, take a risk. I'd rather try and fail than worry. I wonder what would have happened. It's okay. Life is long. And also, if we do not learn from our mistakes and do not listen to our gut and see those red flags and ignore them, we're doing ourselves a disservice. But also, lead with kindness. Just listen to people. Again, this person may be like, I don't know. It could be something that, what if you would pass the opportunity? Be open and just be genuine and think about how you can help them instead of always helping yourself. And you can find me on Instagram, Amanda S. Gabbard, Gabbard, and then AmandaGabbardBeauty.com. And I'm here to talk about lipstick anytime you want.
Coach Dan, final thoughts.
I have no questions about lipstick. But
We're kind of glad to hear that, Coach Dan.
yeah, well, we're in an age. Get way more interested in other people than you are in yourself. Like, hey, Deanna, that is really an amazing necklace. I bet there's a cool story behind it, right? So just right there, we're going to launch into a conversation about Deanna and what that means. And at the end of that conversation, we're going to feel a lot more connected, right? Because I'm not approaching this transactionally. I'm not approaching this. What am I going to get out of this? Or is this worthwhile? I'm approaching it like a human being. Like, let's just see what happens. And look, I was dragged kicking and screaming to this. I mean, I have a long history of being a self-involved prick, but doing life this way has made my life so much more joyful. I have an amazing love in my life because of this. So it's a practice. It is a practice. It doesn't often come naturally, especially to us guys. If you want to get in touch with me, just look for Coach Dan Gordon on LinkedIn. Do a Google search for Coach Dan Gordon. I'm everywhere. And look, if you want to chat, text the number 25 to this number, 213-409-8366, or click the link in the chat. Let's have a 15-minute conversation. I guarantee at the end of that conversation, you will not be a client, because I will not ask you to be one. That's not what it's about. It's about delivering value to you.
Awesome. That was awesome. My final thoughts are, you guys said everything that I'd want to say, but I personally take every call. I used to never be that way, but now in what I do today, I take every call because I never know where it's going to lead. If it doesn't lead someone for me, it usually can lead somewhere for somebody else. But I have done amazing things just by taking that call. And so for me, I am very protective of my energy, and I'm very much in tune with it. So if it's not a good fit for me, I kind of can feel that right off the bat. Not everybody's like that, but that's just been a gift that I've honed over time. And so I always take every call because you never know where it's going to lead. And Label Free Podcast everywhere, .com, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things. So that's how you can contact me.
Awesome. Thank you all so very much for being here today. You have truly added to our content about collaboration and how to have wonderful collaborations. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our viewers for watching the show. If you enjoyed it, please share it with others. If you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe. Please reach out to these wonderful folks and connect with them and collaborate. There are lots of opportunities. And we'll see you next time on Collaboration Conversations. Bye for now.